All right, welcome back. As promised, we're going to get into our background layer now. So I want to create a radial gradient that falls upon a dark background. Now we could just come down to our base layer here, throw a gradient on it, and that would probably be fine. But if we decide later that we want to tweak it or edit it, maybe we change the size of the radial gradient, ditch it altogether, or the tone of the background, we're going to want control over that. So I'm going to set this up a little different. Let's start off by creating a new layer. We'll call it base. We'll set it to normal. Actually, I take that back. Put it on overlay so that you can select fill with 50% gray. We'll accept it and then put it back to normal. We have to do that, otherwise it won't allow you to fill it with 50% gray. Or you could just enter in the color numbers, which are 128 in RGB value. All right, now I want to do a dark blue. I know that already. It's going to be a deep dark blue color with a radial on top, somewhere in this region. So let's bring up a hue saturation layer. We will option click between these two layers here, and that will clip it to the base. I do not need the layer mask, so just to reduce file size, I'm going to delete it. You can always throw one back on if you'd like. Now we're going to set the mode to colorize, and it's going to default to like a red orangish tone. It's a little flat. So here, I know I want it darker. I'm going to pull this down a touch. We'll bring this up just so we get vivid color. And, just slide your slider around till you find a color that you're comfortable with. I like something in this range, but, like I said, it's going to have to be darker. Yeah, we're going to go really dark. I want this to appear like it's floating in space. Yeah, we'll go with like -80. And 50 on the saturation. And just in case, 202 is my hue. Now on top of this, let's go ahead and create another new layer, and we'll call it radial. We are going to select that checkbox to clip it, and why don't we set the blend mode to screen. Go ahead and accept that. Now, if you hit DX, it's going to, just the letter keys DX, it will reset your foreground and background colors to white and black. Now I'm going to select my gradient tool. Did that with G, as you can see here. We'll select the radial. And I don't want a huge gradient, just a little something to throw light behind the shoe. Now we can move this and position it wherever we like. If we had done this just on the background, we'd really have to, on the base layer here, you'd have to be really precise about where you put the gradient. Here I can, I could put it off screen. You put it wherever you want. I'm going to shrink it a touch. Okay. And we can also play with the opacity some. Something like that. I think I'm at 60% for the opacity. I like the positioning. That feels good to me. Now I'm going to create another new layer. This one we'll put, let's do overlay again. Call this one noise. Fill with 50% gray. Go ahead and clip it. Same as we did before. I'm going to go filter, noise, add noise. I pretty much always default to 1.25 if I'm adding noise. You go ahead and zoom into 100% and see what that's doing. It really just helps this look more realistic. You know, you're normally not going to have in a photograph something that's so crisp and clean. You're going to have a little bit of noise, so I like to throw that in. It's a minor detail that most won't notice, but you know, it's worth doing. So that's looking pretty good just for a basic background layer setup. We are going to further affect the atmosphere. This is sort of a base to get us set up, and we're going to do some color adjustments later that are also going to fall upon this background. So it's not set in stone, and at any point, if you want to go a different direction, you know, maybe you want to go green with this, or really any color. It's up to your liking. Go ahead and set it to whatever you choose. But setting this up is really going to help us to see what we need to do in here. So our mask is not it's not great. We're getting halos on these roots, which didn't appear before we had this background layer set up. So what I'm going to do between lessons is go ahead and clean all this up, and I'm going to demo it for you guys so that you'll be able to get there too before we begin our next lesson. We're just going to lock this layer with the roots, and we're going to clone. We'll sample with our clone stamp brush. We'll just go ahead and sample around in here, and we're going to paint these halos out. But before we do that, go ahead and select all of your background layers, hit Command G to group them, and let's call this background. So if we go into this earth layer, here we have all of our roots. Go ahead and select this, go ahead and check it, then I'll lock the layer. So what I'll do is just start cloning all of this stuff to a soil color. That way we don't have these halos, which are going to read very false. And you guys, you know, if you made a mistake on your grass masks, I can even see here, you know, there's some grass showing through that shouldn't be. Just go ahead and identify where that's coming from. Some of it's coming from my root layer, and some of it is coming from merged earth. So between lessons, go ahead and take some time to either paint out some faulty masking, like I'm doing here, and then also go ahead and clone all of these roots to a soil color, right? Or texture and color, rather. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up off camera. Thank you guys for following along, and we will pick up where we left off in the next lesson.